All right, what's going on? My name is Marcus Barnett. I'm a project manager, and you've been listening to this YouTube channel, podcast, whatever you want to call it, and you've been learning a little bit about project management. You've been learning about why it's important to have one, what is a project manager. You've also been learning about what it costs to not have a project manager, right? But today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how a project manager can save you time and reduce the stress. So stress is probably like the biggest issue that people face in business. Why? Because you're always focused on making money. You're always trying to make the best, move for your business. A lot of time people who own businesses are working in other businesses. So like you're also having a job 9 to 5 and you're trying to go do your business on the other side, right? It might make money for you, but not enough to keep you off of not having a full-time job. So the way that a project manager comes in is they help reduce that stress. They take a lot of the pain away from you from when you have to do things that are chaotic. For example, what are things that are causing stress, right? And a lot of it is not having enough time, working with unclear priorities, right? So what's important? What needs to get done? What has to happen, right? Or constant firefighting. So what constant firefighting looks like is exactly what it sounds like. You're constantly putting out flames. If you work in corporate, you know what that looks like, especially if your company doesn't have a project manager. And you can imagine some companies are always still putting out flames and they have project managers, right? So how do you help a company or anybody individually stop constantly putting out fires? Well, the way you do that is you find out what the fire is and you fix the issue before the fire even comes, right? So if a fire is burning because of a certain type of wood, you don't put that wood in there. It won't burn. It will burn differently, right? So also inefficiencies, things that are not happening correctly, is taking too long. There's manual processes. We need to make these automated processes. There's things that I'm doing consistently. There's payment processing steps that I'm taking consistently, and they're not working, right? They're just taking a long time. Things are just taking so long to get done, and I'm doing all these other things. It's taking me too much time to do that. Well, how does a project manager, myself, help a business to get those prioritization or to prioritize better? Well, one of the ways that we help to prioritize better is that we give you a list of things that you need to do. And we talk you through the process of eliminating the things that are not as important. So if you own a business, you know that everything seems important at the moment. Everything. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do this. Everything is important. Everything is on fire. So what do? We really talk about what's important, what's costing you money, what's costing you the most amount of time, and what needs to get done today, right? And we bring a list to you, we separate it, and we identify these are the priorities. These 3 are your top priorities. These other priorities, these are things that you don't have to focus on today. 1, because if you fix these, it might fix itself. 2, if you fix these prioritized items, then later on down the line, you have time to fix those others. So a lot of times you got to figure out, how do I prioritize better and I get things in front of me that need to get done and I have the direct parameters to do it. Also, streamlining a process. What does a streamlined process look like? Well, it looks like something that is done from start to finish that has a process involved. So if I have a process on taking payments, some people have to go to people's houses to take payments, right? Some people say, no, you can only do this cash only. Right. But if you have a streamlined process of where when this action happens, then a payment request comes and then a reminder request comes and then the payment gets processed and it goes through your bank. That's a streamlined process. Think of direct deposit. It's a very streamlined process. Before, people were getting their monies through checks. The company would send you out a check in the mail. You would have to go cash that check and then your money will be in your bank. Depending on the bank and the processing time, your money could take a longer time to get into the bank, right? So it could take you about a couple of days, maybe a week to even get your money for the amount of time that you already worked. That's not a streamlined process. A streamlined process would be we've created a link from the bank to the business where that we send money through our bank and the bank processes the money in real time to that business or the bank processes the money in real time to the individual that's working for you. So now you have a loop streamlined process where I don't have to go from work to the bank to cash a check, or I don't have to go from the mailbox to cash a check. Some people still get cash or checks cashed because that's what they do, right? Some people don't have banks, things like that. It made it so much easier for you to get your money just because the way they set up the process, right? I guarantee you that somebody in project management identified that and said there has to be a better way that we can get people their money on time or quicker. I guarantee you, because a lot of times that's what happens. You get somebody that can look at the big picture and take what you're doing and try to put that together. The big pictures get them paid. The process is how do we get there? And the project manager comes in and say, this is what I can see. These are the steps that I think that help you get there because I know your end goal. Okay. So that's talking about streamlined process. And then accountability. A lot of the things that I do is create accountability. So when I create documents and I send them to different companies and businesses that I'm working with, I always put a responsibility tab on any type of sheet that I'm creating or giving or utilizing, whatever you want to call it. Always have some sheet that says accountability. And why? Because you need to know who's responsible. The worst thing that you can do is say, I have a task, but I don't know who needs to do the task. Because when the task needs to get done, you got to figure out who do I talk to about the task. Again, if the bank gives you money, then your company can look at the responsibility of the bank to give you the money. If the bank's responsibility was completed, if all their things were checked off, then they can point to themselves and the HR department and say, okay, who in this process didn't do that? And then they can ultimately point to you if they need to. But it creates a line of responsibility where you can go to. If you don't have a responsibility meter, then you go and say, okay, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? But because I have it on a sheet, we can say, Sheila did not complete this step. And because she did not complete this step, we had to put the project on pause. We had to do this. It's not about getting Sheila in trouble. It's not about, making Sheila feel bad. It's about saying, hey, we know where the buck stops. So for the buck to keep going, we got to talk to Sheila and we got to say, Sheila, we got to get you to do this so that we can complete this. Sometimes Sheila might be doing so many things that it just slipped. And we just got to let her know, hey, Sheila, I'm just coming to you because we got to complete this. And this is something that you're responsible for and you know how to do or you have to do. So that's what that looks like. Okay. So a streamlined process, accountability, and these are all things that a project manager works with on a day-to-day, right? We focus on making those happen. Now, when you look at what does that do for you? Let's look at what it does for you. It gives you a better working environment. What does that mean? Now you don't have to worry about what's happening. My head is on fire. Have you ever watched SpongeBob? When SpongeBob's brain's on fire, it's running all around his brain and everything's on fire and they're shredding files and everything. A project manager is supposed to come and help calm that fire, because instead of your brain trying to tell you to do all these different things, you have priorities, you have a list, and you have deliverables that you can go back to and say, I know exactly what I need to do. And a lot of times businesses don't do that. People don't do that. They get caught up on all these other things, all these other possible realities, right? And they don't go back and say, you know what? I know what I have to do. It's right here on my paper. It's right here on my sheet. Like all I got to do is look at my sheet and I know exactly what I got to do. So we create that comfort. We create that ability for you to feel comfortable in that. Okay. And then we help you with having fewer emergencies. There's going to be emergencies because people are people. Businesses are businesses. The economy is a thing. The government is a thing. Politics. And business is going to be businesses. So there's going to be things that happen within business that are going to need your attention immediately. And it's going to need you to do something about it. Well, we help reduce that, right? Because we've identified areas. For example, if you have 3 different quotes on opportunities to get a system, right? Maybe a cloud data storing system. Think about iCloud. If we gave you 3 different quotes, so iCloud, we gave you Verizon Cloud, and then we gave you Adobe Cloud, right? And we gave you 3 different vendors to choose from based off of what you need. Instead of just saying, you know what, I think I need iCloud storage, and you go get it, right? And then you realize, well, iCloud storage doesn't connect with my Adobe, or for whatever reason, I can't use it that way, right? But you look at Adobe after you've done that, and you're like, wow, this was everything I needed. Now I got to cancel this, but I've already been paying for this. And if I got a contract, I got to cancel the contract and I might have to buy out the contract. And then I have to move to Adobe and I have to pay for that. And I might have to be paying for them at the same time just because of the way I did it. Well, a project manager comes and brings this to you so you don't have to do that because it is stressful and it's hard to do. And it's hard to do it if you're the only one. There's a lot of bias in that. There's a lot of emergency. There's a lot of focus, right? And you got to just make sure that you're picking the right thing. We help you get more clients when you don't have to focus on all these other things, prioritization, focus on where you need to go, where you need to be. You lose track of the business and you get down in the woods. And then you're not even focused on growth. You're not focused on expansion. You're focused on survival. And you're focused on emergencies and you're focused on making things happen. And with the project manager, you get the opportunity to prepare for a lot of the things that you already know is going to happen because the project manager assesses the field and tells you what can happen. And then you can focus on going to get extra business, going to get more business, going to get more support, going to reach out to more people. You just have so much more time to do so many more things. Okay. And as a project manager, I've done a lot of this. I've helped transform businesses. I help create opportunities through strategic planning for whether it be funding, financing, whether it be business structure, organization, strategic planning. I've done a lot of different things that helped businesses grow, reduce their stress, improve their execution, and save time. And improving the execution is my favorite because a lot of times as a project manager, I get to see on the outside and I get to tell you, you're so close to executing. You just need somebody to help you with that push to execution. And I'm here to help give you that push to execution. Now, not everybody can't say that. Everybody can't do that. But I know that I'm here to support you in the way that you need execution support. So what I'm telling you is that I'm here to help you. So what I'm offering, and I've been offering for a while, is a free 30-day, it's community service based opportunity for you to work with me as a project manager. What this includes is I'm going to help you with your business on identifying the structure. We're going to look at some of the things that you need, right? We're going to look at some of the opportunities to help improve either your business, your communication, your structure, or your organization, right? We're just going to bring it together, whether that be staffing, whether that be payroll, whether that be fundraising, whatever we need to do, we'll create a plan and then we'll look at executing. I'm going to give you 30 days. We're going to work to execute within those 30 days. Now, I will tell you, a lot of people want to continue after those 30 days and have me on full time. I've done that for a few people. I'll continue to do that. Once it gets full for me, I'll have to wait until I can assess how I'm able to help more people, right? I have a 9-to-5 as a project manager myself. So my consulting business also takes a step back from that. I can only be at so many places at once. And I want to help improve everyone's business that I can or opportunities that they see, right? So if you need me, you can find me at BC Consulting, Barnett Consulting and Project Solutions, or the BC Network. On Instagram, you can find me on the BC Network, and YouTube. You can find me on the BC Network. Again, my name is Marcus Barnett. I'm a project manager. I'm here to hear you out. And yeah, let's make things happen. Peace.